So in this particular session, we are going to talk about firewall and Palo Alto feature, what are the Palo Alto model number, etc. Okay, so let's start with what is firewall. So I hope you are already aware about formal definition of the firewall, but let me just repeat it. So if I talk about firewall, so firewall is a network security device that monitor incoming and outgoing network traffic and and permit or block it based on the rule. Okay, so whatever the rule you we apply on the firewall, based on that, either it would be permitting the traffic or it would be denying the traffic. So it is just working, a kind of barrier between one network to another network. Okay, if the traffic is good and you have allowed it, so traffic is going to be allowed, else traffic is going to block. So basically firewall is doing a traffic filtering here. If I talk about the firewall type, so basically we can divide a firewall in a two class. One is a host based firewall and other is a network based firewall. Host based firewall is protecting just a single host. Okay, so this firewall would be installed on each host. You can take example of Windows firewall. Okay, so Windows firewall would be enabled on each host. Okay, which is going to protect a host. We have antivirus firewall as well. Okay, so antivirus firewall again is protecting a particular host. And in Linux, we have IP table. So host-based firewall is just protecting single host. But let's say we have to protect entire network. So for that, we need to have network-based firewall. So Palo Alto is type of network-based firewall. It is protecting entire host. Sorry, entire network. So network-based firewall can be deployed as a hardware or virtual machine. Okay, or you can deploy on the cloud as well. It is doing what? It is doing a packet filtering. It can do the stateful packet filtering, or uh, a firewall can do application uh, based packet filtering. So we have different types of firewall as well in network based firewall. A packet filter firewall. This is kind of very old firewall, and it is just doing packet filtering based on the layer 3 information. Means based on the IP address, you can do the packet filtering. You can simply take example of ACL. We have access control list, and it is doing the packet filtering based on the layer 3 information. But we have another type of firewall, which is stateful packet filter firewall. What basically this firewall does, this firewall maintain the session, and based on the session, it would be allowing the traffic. So in stateful firewall, basically what is happening, if you have allowed any traffic, so for return of that traffic, you don't need to create a separate rule. From same rule, traffic is going to be passed for return traffic as well. The third type of firewall we have application aware firewall. So application aware firewall is nowadays is working on an advanced system where it would be detecting the traffic based on the application. That means traffic is generated by which application. A firewall has capability to detect that, and you can apply more control on the traffic based on the application. So I can take the example over here for application aware firewall. Let's say, uh, let me just draw here. Let's say you have a network like this. Uh, this is your firewall, simple network you have, which is connected to internet. And here is your network. From there, traffic is being generated. Now on the firewall, you have allowed the traffic, let's say you have allowed that if the source A or source B trying to go over the internet, they should be able to access it. But these system can generate different types of traffic. For example, on these system, they can use a different type of application. They might be using Teams, they might be using Zoom, they might be using normal HTTP. Okay, so we have different type of application. So in Palo Alto Firewall, what you can do, or any application aware firewall, you can create a rule to identify the application, and post identifying the application, a firewall is going to either allow the traffic or it is going to deny the traffic. In one of the application could have a multiple functionality. So if you take example of Zoom or Teams application, these application having the multiple functionality, you can do voice call, you can do video call, you can do chat, or you can do file sharing, or you can share whiteboard. All these functionality we have. So on, if the firewall is aware about these all functionality, so on the firewall you can apply granular control. So for example, you can allow maybe voice and video you can allow, but chat or file sharing or whiteboard sharing, you may block that, these functionality. Okay. So that's the benefit of application aware firewall. So application aware firewall is basically going to work from layer to layer 2 to 7. Okay, that means it would be able to identify application signature, and based on the application signature, it is going to allow the traffic or deny the traffic. Okay, so Palo Alto firewall can perform all these tasks. Just okay, Palo Alto can perform packet filtering as well, stateful packet filtering as well, and it can perform application aware firewall as well. Okay, so Palo Alto firewall is a third type of firewall, application aware firewall. The next type of firewall we have web application firewall. So these firewall is designed to protect a web application. So nowadays you can see that there are a lot of web application. Okay, and if you want to protect them, so definitely you have to put web application firewall. So let's say there is a web application UniNets.net, that is a website running over here, and you just want to protect this website so that any attacker cannot do any attack. So what the firewall you have to put? You have to put WAF over here, web application firewall. Web application firewall. Okay, so it would be able to detect all type of HTTP plus HTTPS attack. Whatever the attacks happen on the HTTP or HTTPS, so this web application firewall is able to detect that. So we have F5 ASM, mod security, or Imperva WAF. These are the web application firewall example, and this is only working on a layer 7. Any question on that? All right. Now coming to Palo Alto. Palo Alto, this is the Palo Alto appliances. So if we talk about Palo Alto firewall, so Palo Alto firewall, either you can deploy as a virtual machine or you can purchase the hardware. Okay, there are few known hardware in the market, and we are going to understand that what is the characteristic of these hardware. So let's try to understand this. So Palo Alto have 4K, 2K, 500 series of the hardware. And if I talk about Palo Alto 4060, this is one of the hardware. So you can see the specification of this particular firewall. This firewall is in this firewall, the throughput of firewall is a 10 Gbps. So firewall is a basic feature, okay, of any particular firewall. Firewalling is a basic feature. So 4060 is going to provide 10 Gbps throughput with firewall. That means uh, over the network, this firewall would be able to filter the traffic up to 10 Gbps. But if you enable any other feature, for example, if you enable threat prevention feature, what is the threat prevention feature over here? Threat prevention feature of the firewall is acting as a IPS, intrusion prevention system. So speed of the firewall would get half. A 50% speed of the firewall is going to decrease. So with the threat prevention, it is just providing 5 Gbps. But if you don't enable this feature, this is providing the speed up to processing speed of the traffic. It is providing 10 Gbps. Okay. And this is the session. So this much session can be handled by the firewall. Okay. This firewall having some port. So 4 port for 10 gig and 4 port for 1 gig. This firewall having. Okay. Then we have another series, 2K series. In 2K series, we have 1 Gbps firewall throughput and 500 Mbps threat prevention throughput. That means with the IPS module, it is providing 500 Mbps throughput. Now there is another series, which is 3K series. Okay. So one of the model in a 3K series is a 3050. In this series, you can see that with firewall, with app ID enabled, okay, the firewall is providing 4 Gbps throughput. And if you enable IPS as well, then it is just going to provide 2 Gbps. Okay. So this is a firewall throughput. But if a firewall can use for the VPN as well. Okay. So if you use a VPN, IPsec VPN, so firewall is going to provide 500 Mbps throughput. Okay, 500K maximum session you can create, and in per second you can create a 50. I mean, firewall is creating 50K session per second. It is supporting 200 IPsec VPN tunnel. That means with one firewall, okay, how many VPN firewall you can connect? Up to 200 VPN tunnel you can create. VPN, IPsec VPN you can create. Okay. And then 2000 SSL VPN also you can create. Okay. So this much VPN session it is, yeah, I mean, this is supporting 2000 IPsec VPN tunnel and also 2000 SSL VPN tunnel it is supporting. There is a new concept, virtual router in the firewall. Okay. So let me just talk about virtual router. What is a virtual router? So in firewall, you can run multiple routing instances. Okay. Like we have a VRF concept in Cisco world where you can run multiple routing instances. Same way on the using virtual router on the firewall itself, you can run multiple routing instances. Okay. So when I say routing instances, that means what? You can segregate your routing table using virtual router. Okay, let me just talk about that. What is a virtual router? So basically, if I talk about virtual router, so in Palo Alto Firewall, to run the routing instances, we have the virtual router. So you can take example of this. Let's say this is E0/0 interface. and this is E0/1 interface. Okay, E0/0 interface is connected to this network 192.168.1.0/24, and this is, let's say, it's connected to 100.0.0.0/24 network. So basically, two routes entry would be here under VR. There would be two routes entry, one for this one and other for this one. There would be two routes entry over here. So both network would be here 192.168.1.0 and 100.0.0.0.0. There would be two routes entry within this virtual router. Okay, let's say it is connected to another routes as well. So if you make any static route or maybe dynamic route entry, where you are going to make, you are going to put into the virtual router. Okay, so by default, there would be one virtual router, which is known as a default. But if you want to segregate, you want to create multiple routing instances. Okay, so you can create multiple routing instances using VR. This is virtual router 1, which is known as a default. Okay, but let's say you just want to put this network into separate virtual router. So yes, you can remove from here and you can put somewhere else as well. Like we have VRF, right? Virtual route forwarding. In virtual route forwarding, what is happening? You are going to create multiple routing instances. So same way on Palo Alto, using virtual router, you can create a multiple routing instances. Clear? So in this particular firewall, on 3050, how many virtual routing instances you can create? 10. 10 virtual router you can create. Okay, 10 separate routing table you can create over here in Palo Alto Firewall. The next feature is a virtual system. So this is again a virtualization. Earlier you have seen the virtualization of a routing table. Here you can see the virtualization and entire firewall itself. Okay, that means nowadays you can see this is the, in this is what you see, that everywhere virtualization is going to work. Okay, you are just going to purchase a single hardware. On the top of single hardware, you are going to deploy multiple machine. Same way, same thing you can achieve into the Palo Alto firewall. You can just purchase one firewall and you can create multiple virtual system, multiple virtual firewall you can create there. Okay, so single firewall you have purchased, let's say 3050. How many maximum virtual system you can create? That is a virtual firewall. You can create up to 6 virtual firewall within that. I would give the example of that. The example is like this. Let's say you have a network where you require a 3 firewall. One firewall to manage external traffic, another firewall to manage internal traffic, and the next firewall you require to manage VPN traffic. Okay, external firewall is connected to the internet, where we have some zone. This zone is known as a DMZ, where you are putting external facing server. So this zone is a DMZ zone. And further external is connected to internal. Where you have some internal server, maybe AD server you have, database server you have, okay, or any internal application. So this is the zone which is internal zone. Also, you have a third-party business partner, and they just want, I mean, your user within this want to connect third party as well. So how they are connecting? They are connecting through VPN. So this is a VPN firewall, and VPN firewall is further connecting to any third party VPN provider. I mean third party business partner. This is the third party business partner. That is a VPN firewall. So in this case, how many firewall we required? We required a 3 firewall, right? I mean, you can see the situation over here that means you required a 3 firewall to achieve that work. But what if you are going to use a virtual system? You just purchase one firewall, and within that firewall, create the 3 VCs, and those 3 VCs you can dedicate for different tasks. So earlier, the firewall which was doing a VPN firewall task, for VPN firewall task, you can create a VCs virtual system, which is nothing but this is a VCs. You can create one VCs, and that VCs you can dedicate for the VPN work. You can create another VCs that you can dedicate for external firewall task, and you can create another VCs you can use it for internal firewall. So instead of purchasing 3 firewall, just one firewall, and within that one firewall you can create a 3 virtual system. You can do the virtualization of your firewall. So that is the use of virtual system. That means on the top of physical firewall, you can create a multiple firewall within it. So you have single physical firewall, and within this single physical firewall, you can create multiple virtual firewall, which is known as a VCs. Clear? So that is the virtual system. We are going to see practically that how you would be creating that. The next thing is security zone. So on 3050 firewall, you can create maximum 40 security zone. So Palo Alto is a basically zone-based firewall. So for each network segment, you have to define the zone. So as I told that this is the zone, and this zone name I have given DMG zone. Okay. So on firewall, you can define that X particular zone. I mean, for a particular network segment, you can define a zone. Okay. So firewall would be able to identify the traffic is coming from which zone and going where. So zone is nothing but this is logical segregation of your network. Okay. Here you are going to define that a portion of network belongs to which zone. Okay. So as you can see that in this particular firewall, 3050 firewall, you can create maximum 40 security zone. And maximum you can write 500 rules. Number of security policy you can create up to, sorry, 5,000. 5,000 maximum number of policies you can write over here. Yes, Praveen, what the question you have?
Yeah, Amar. When you create virtual systems, whatever the throughput that you're mentioning, will it be equally shared, or how it is going to be? Or we have to explicitly mention it?
That is a maximum you would be getting. So let's say 4 GB throughput you have,
Yeah.
okay, on the physical firewall. So let's say you have created 4 virtual systems, so it would be equally shared there.
Okay. Yeah. And regarding this virtual routers, Amar, so
Mhm,
we have seen only default, and you know, do
mhm.
you have a special case where we actually create such virtual routers, maybe one or two virtual routers, or
Yeah,
maybe a
definitely,
real
definitely. If we
okay.
just want to segregate, let's say on the same firewall,
Mhm.
we are using a VPN, and on the same firewall, we are using internal as well. So on that cases for VPN routes, we are not going to put VPN route into the default one. Okay, for VPN, we are going to put segregate virtual routes, separate virtual routes.
Okay, I mean, for each virtual system, there will be a separate default virtual route, right? I mean,
I mean,
routing.
yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about the virtual system we have created.
Okay.
We have a single firewall, and that single firewall we are trying to use as a external, usually external, and plus we are going to use that as a VPN.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we haven't created any virtual system. Okay, on that case, if we just want to that our VPN routes should not overlap with the internal one, so definitely we can use a separate virtual router there.
Yeah, makes sense.